is going to be on home turf, choosing the Infernal Shrines again. Last time these two played, Ballistics banned this map against them. It has been, for a long time, one of the best maps for KSV. It died out for a small time frame, but it seems like it has returned back to their #1 bio. So I feel like that's already another argument here towards a disadvantage towards Ballistics. But I'm trying to remain optimistic here, and a lot of it is going to be how they make the decisions through the strat phase.
Also, so far it looks like Tist is actually well recovered. It must have been really bad a few days ago. From what I was told in the early scrim sessions and the training sessions, it was actually Noblesse taking over for him just so that he could sleep a little bit longer and could rest so that he gets better. But at this point, again, I asked him earlier, he said he's still not 100%, but he feels a lot better. I think that's something that we can just echo after the first game. Tyrael is banned once again. KSV is just saying, you know what, worked out on the last map. If you really struggle this much, if we ban out your Tyrael, then we're just going to keep doing it and win the video game.
That's going to be very interesting. Okay, so now where's the response for Ballistics? They don't have to necessarily commit to anything because of that quite yet, but I do feel like it might have to fall before that secondary ban phase. They're going to go start out with the ETC. No surprise, that man has been dominating this tournament, not only in priority, but also success with his win rate.
Yeah, we have Lucio immediately being picked up on the side of KSV. The support that everybody fights over right now works really well. Can work well in the solo situation, but also with the double support. Genji again being chosen here. Can't blame them for that after the last game.
Yeah, I mean, you want to pick that up for him about every time, it feels like, for KSV, because they are one of the best they're one of the best teams at dealing with reset composition since Lee Min came out. I mean, it feels like they have been willing to prioritize it a little bit higher than almost every other team in the world. Genji comes out, and then they're like, wait, we have 2 of these? Then they sound Ana, and then it seemed from that point on, they almost never looked back.
Okay, Vala and Uther. So at this point, I think we can be fairly sure that SC is going to play on Vala. And they were likely to have a double support composition for them. The Divine Shield with Mosh Pit, always a threat. Could then also throw a second one in later on. There's a question, what are they going to get for their second warrior here? Are we going to see them maybe even commit to a Sonya?
A Sonya pickup for, are we talking about Ballistics here, right?
Yeah, for Ballistics.
Yeah, I feel like the Ballistics with Sonya would stand a lot better there. I do really like the ban onto the Ariel for KSV. Just the double support synergy between that and Ariel, with Uther and Vala is really difficult to deal with on Shrines.
Now, Ballistics hasn't really played a whole lot of Sonya in this tournament, so that's the one thing where I'm like, maybe not. But again, on Infernal Shrines, Sonya has a huge impact. We've seen her have a couple of pretty crazy games. Fnatic had very nice matchups with her, but Benny was especially punishing Rich a lot when they were playing against KSV Black. But right now, let's see what the last picks for them are going to be. For now, we have bans on Oriel, trying to make sure that the double support is going to be a little bit weaker on Ballistics side if they choose to go down that path. Abathar also banned out. Great combo with Genji in particular. Even Lucio with a symbiote head can be pretty scary. That movement speed with the damage output, you can't run away from that guy.
I'd be very surprised if they didn't end up going with an Arthas in this rotation, but they do end up stepping away, taking away the Sonya option for Ballistics, not wanting to deal with that, and not only for that synergy we were talking about for Shrines, but, you know, the soft counter into Genji. You know, we did see the Poison Spear nerf, but it doesn't seem to have any impact on it whatsoever. Still, I believe it's been taken every time Sonya's been played at 7.
How is Ballistics going to react to that right now? The double support Vala is something where they excelled at. Again, this was the first time they even played a double support after the patch. It's their second series, so after the patch kicked in and we moved to the live patch, they've been very willing to commit to solo supports. Even without Tyrael. Tyrael, of course, can at least give you a bit of shielding, but even in the games where they did not get him, they were willing to play solo support. With Vala, probability of that happening has definitely been diminished. Dehaka is still around, so you could... No, actually banned out, my bad.
I feel like it's
Arthas?
It stands out, yeah, to be that just Arthas double support attempt here. And I mean, it's a very left to right team fight composition, one that I feel like is dated. It's still good, but it's dated.
Yeah.
And they're going to commit to it. So the Arthas double support, Vala hyper carry.
I don't mind that at all. As long as they put a C on Vala, I am absolutely happy with that. I feel like this is a really safe composition, let's put it that way. It's extremely safe. You have 2 great frontliners. They can create a lot of space for Vala. You have the double support. Rega, yes, he doesn't have the lightning bond anymore on level 1, but the lightning shield with Arthas is still a really strong tool once that you start taking position on the shrine itself. You have several panic buttons that you can use. You can even make the argument that with Rhaegar in the mix, Uther doesn't have to go for the Divine Shield. If you don't think you're gonna get that mosh pit with Divine Shield, then you can also easily just simply head into Divine Storm and can start to punish Genji a lot more. And if Reset continues jumping in like he did in the last game, then a Divine Storm would definitely be a problem.
Yeah, it would be extremely problematic, especially, you know, maybe a post-16 benediction. Just, I mean, that's a lot of lockdown. Stun, give you the old Divine Storm. One of the most satisfying things as a support player, that chain combo there. But I really like the Gul'dan last pick from KSV. I feel like it's one of the best tools to be able to deal with that double support, double warrior. Not only the double support for the Horrify split, because generally they typically want to be clumped, but more importantly, a lot of continuous pressure towards the front, good defense into the front wall siege that we can absolutely expect Ballistics to be focused into.
And there's also the argument to be made that with the setup that Ballistics is running here right now, if you position yourself well in the background with Gul'dan, it makes it very difficult for your opponent to get close enough to really pressure you, unless they get a flank in.
Yeah, that's a little bit of that kind of left to right team fight I was trying to highlight into the draft, is that Ballistics will very much want to be like, okay, you stay, this is your side of the map, this is ours, and it's like, let's fight. But then when the flank ends up going down, it's very, very hard. But if your opponent intends to just kind of never flank and get that left to right like you are expecting for KSV, suddenly you see that Gul'dan and you just go, I'm not even worried. You know, any of those high, squishy, but large amount of damage output heroes like that and Chromie can absolutely dominate in these style comps. So I feel like I would like to see the Arthas in particular be the man who is constantly flaking for Ballistics in these fights and not and avoid that problem from ever arising at all.
Yeah, they need to somehow get the pressure on Gul'dan. It's not going to be easy. They need to somehow, if Arthas is able to get those flanks in, that would make it a lot easier for them. But then you have also Lucio that can simply push someone away, get the speed bonus, and of course drop the sound barrier if you really need to. So it comes, again, back down to Ballistics having to apply some pressure here. I think their Shrine Control is pretty exceptional. Muradin is not really the best hero to have on the Shrine. He can take a punch, but he doesn't really exude the same amount of pressure that Arthas does, or even ETC. Sonya, on the other hand, she can be strong here, but overall, I like the setup that we are seeing for Ballistics in this game way, way more than what they were running on the last one.
I agree. I think the biggest thing for me is, even though I'm kind of, I think it's very apparent my tone is skeptical towards the draft of Ballistics, I do feel like comparing it to the last game, I like it a lot more, especially if we are going to CSV on that Vala. But in the blue is KSV. We have Sake on the Gul'dan, Rich on Sonya, Kyocha on Lucio, Tist on Muradin, and Reset on Genji.
And Ballistics with SDE on Rhaegar SC, thankfully on Vala, Jongha on Arthas, Hooligan on ETC, and Magi on Uther.
Game number 1 went in favor of KSV on BOE, and now they're going to home turf on Infernal Shrines for game number 2. But again, we have SC. He's back on the damage. It could be a very different tale than what we saw in that dominant game KSV had in the first.
I really hope it's going to be a very different game. I came in here today and said, okay, let's see how this goes. I have high hopes for Ballistics to bring the fight to KSV. And I really thought we're at least going to see those 5 maps. But right now, I was very disappointed in the last map. Not that they lost, but the fashion, like the way they played and the way that KSV dominated it. This series was supposed to be a close one, and let's see if they can deliver.
Gotta love KSV sticking to the E-Star. They have almost throughout this entire tournament had the E-Star sprays, banners, everything of the like, showing respect here, not only to one of their old maybe rivals way, way, way back, but also the Chinese fans here at GCWC.
Yeah, so in terms of builds, Vala committing to an arrow build here. Always a map where you can also go into the multi-shot hybrid build with a hot pursuit on level 1, but we're going to see the arrow build being chosen. Gul'dan still holding back his level 1 talent. ETC, as you would expect, with proc rock. And everybody playing it safe right now. Nobody wants to run into any kind of early game ganks. Especially against Ballistics, you don't want to be out on the map for that exact reason. Jongha missing the Howling Blast, but yeah. This power slide stun into a Howling Blast is exactly what you're afraid of if you're KSV at this point.
We're still yet to see Gul'dan commit to any level 1 choice. I mean, I feel like it's going to be the Echoed Corruption here, but the fact that he's holding on to it makes me, kind of second guess myself. There's so many melees and so much clumping that Ballistics is going to have happen, but they might feel that they need the more consistent DPS out of the Fell Flame build.
Which we see very rarely. I mean, we still see it, but in this tournament in particular, it was basically Echoed Corruption all the way. So he's still holding back on it. It's bit interesting to see that. Then again, we have at the same time now the rotation starting, and this is where Lucio is going to be a huge game changer once more. He just speeds the rotation between lanes up, and you can apply pressure so much faster, especially when you also have reset in your Mix 1 Genji, because he can traverse those lanes even quicker.
Big flank here. Kyocha sniffs it out. He throws down the boop to get the dismount, but the Howling Blast onto Rich is going to be too much. First blood here to Ballistics, as it's timed very convenient with that Shrine right there up on top next to him.
Oh!
SC almost winning the 1v1. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, we wanted to see SC on the damage.
Yep, pretty much. And at that point, Gul'dan might not be able... I might not have to go back, but he's definitely in a situation where he says, boys, bot lane is not so far going to work out for me.
He still didn't even choose the talent, even all through all of that without the panic. I feel like it's got to be Q. It is Q because of that case. Tis able to get the Dwarf Toss just out of range of the Howling Blast from Jungha.
Okay, Sonya is actually moving back down to the bot lane. We have SDE on Rhaegar currently trying to get the extra experience for his team. Shrine is spawning all the way up at the top, and the teams are rotating in. Sonya with the wave cleared the bot lane. Is currently trying to move into the middle. Very safe pathing here on the side of Rhaegar, making sure that he's not running into any potential traps, even though KSV is not setting anything up here. Ballistics is the team that takes the position on the Shrine as expected. With that setup, with Arthas in particular, is just where you want to be.
I really like the fact that we did get the Fell Flame into this game, though. How it's going to interact with the team fights is going to be pretty interesting. How much pressure onto that double frontliner is applied, and does that demand too many heroic choices now that we see, you know, the lesser healing, lessing situation between that double support? But that was very aggressive in opening there from Reset.
Exactly what we talked about in the last game. Last game they didn't punish it too much. They also didn't have the same amount of CC, but this time when Reset goes in like this, Ballistics is going to be ready. The immediate lockdown with the stun. And I feel like at this point, Genji was just him. Oh my god, if that's the second kill, it would be fantastic for them. And they get it. Gul'dan is down. Great play from Ballistics. But coming back to the point, I really think that in this case, one of the main reasons why Genji said, hey, I got this, is because we had both supports on the lanes trying to soak experience. And he said, hey, if you have nobody to heal you, I can get that kill. And then he got a bit too overconfident. Results in 2 deaths on the side of KSV. And... yeah, when they have a C on a damage dealer, they look like a different team. Yeah,
it's insane to see that kind of change between their playstyle. I also find it surprising to see that it's going to be the Sonya split push, committing to that Shadow Ground to make sure you have better control. Nice punishment once again onto Reset. Not profiting as much as it was the first time, but I just love to see them constantly make him now second guess himself as the game is going to move on. But it's not like the Sonya is going to stand out too much compared to the Rhaegar and the Arthas. SCE even taking the 1v1, holding on for a little bit too long, but the collapse here, Jungha flanking around. Does it cost him his life? Poison Spear, or Ancient Spear, excuse me, got to be up. Ugh. Body blocks now.
Yeah, at this point he wanted to be too much of a hero. Like, the main reason why he actually did this was because he wanted to buy a little bit of time on the of the camp, because he saw that Arthas was rotating down. And with another 3-4 seconds, Arthas would have been able to turn this into a 2 versus 1 and get the kill there. So that was the main reason why Rhaegar actually turned around and jumped back in. And this is one of those moments where you sometimes just get a little bit too greedy. A safe play would have been just walk away from it. It's not going to cost you the game, but now, of course, another death against Rhaegar. It's a bit unfortunate for them here. So Ballistics currently with 3 kills against 1.
See who's going to get the upper hand when it comes to timing onto the Shaman camp. Knowing that the first Shrine phase did end up spawning on top means that we know the second Shrine phase has to spawn into one of the others. If on bottoms, that Shaman camp can be a very big problem for these teams to deal with, especially because we haven't seen if we're going to have any global opportunity for Ballistics if they do end up going into a stage dive route, which I don't necessarily feel like is going to be the go-to, but I can see an argument in wanting to try and get that split pressure out. And if they do, that Shaman is much more important for them than the other.
Yeah, stage dive would also be something where you can put more pressure onto Gul'dan when you jump in from the offside. The problem, of course, is always if Gul'dan reacts properly and is able to hit a good horrify, then you might find yourself in more trouble than you were aiming for. But at this point, both would definitely be an option. Comes down to Uta, I feel.
So Shrine spawn here in 10 seconds up towards mid, but Heroics will be picked up for KSB far earlier here than Ballistics, so inevitably it's got to be a minimum, I feel like, 15 to 20 skeletal defender advantage in their favor, and I don't think Ballistics is going to try and all-in enforce this.
Yeah,
their body language indicates the same, that they're going to remain into those side lanes and get that soak and wait for Heroics.
Yeah, and at this point they're about to pick up the level 10. ETC now down at bot lane. Rhaegar playing it safe up at the top, moved back a little bit just so they can't jump on him. And the heroics should be in play. 20 advantage already.
Shaman Camp's doing work up on top still for Ballistics.
Yeah.
Nobody's responded from KSV as they hit their 10s and immediately tried to focus down the Shrine. And look at Ballistics not giving it up for free.
Ballistics might not be able to get it, but they're at least buying a little bit more time for the Shaman Camp to be effective. We also have them with Mosh Pit and going into Divine Shield, plus also on top of that Ancestral. So a lot of panic buttons here on the side of Ballistics now.
I mean, talk about survivability. It is just insane. It feels like the only target that is going to be vulnerable on Ballistics' composition is SC there onto the Vala. But hoping that the supports and mixed with the Warrior and their ability to keep themselves up, that it's not going to draw those resources and he'll be able to be the carry. He was born to be here. The Punisher did not gain very much for KSV. And that's a bit uncharacteristic of KSV. On a map like Infernal Shrines, the reason why they are so dominant is they just feel like they get so much more out of each and every Punisher. And the fact that we've gone second phase and they still only, you know, glimpsed a bit of damage onto that middle fort is a bit scary.
And there's attack against Hooligan there, not enough damage, but we have the supports a little bit split here. Reset once again going in. This time there's nobody there though to punish him. No CC, but we have at least a little bit more damage pushed out by Ballistics as they go for their camp again. They don't allow KSV to invade it and take it away. So they're just sneaking in again, take the camp. Still a slight lead for KSV when it comes to experience, especially thanks to Sonya all the way up to the top. But Ballistics is starting to be a little bit more aggressive when it comes to camp control.
When looking at the team fights and how I expect them to unfold here post-10, one thing that seems interesting is that generally speaking, when you look at the composition that KSV has, you would think that taking fights in tight corridors would be in their best interest. But I actually feel like it's going to be the opposite of that situation because Ballistics has not only better tools to be able to deal with those kind of major team fights, in particular Arthas and Mosh Pit with the Divine Shield, Rain of Vengeance as well, are all great in those tight little chokeholds, but you know, you see that horrifying, you think that's the fight that we want, but I feel like it's very much on them to identify that into those lanes and avoiding those chokes and those long sustained fights into them. I think it's going to be a must-have, and if they don't identify that, maybe, you know, KSV is not going to be as successful in the game or those fights as we thought. Nice power slide.
This is so perfect for Ballistics. I was just about to talk that KSV now is hitting the level 13 so much faster, which for the objective already tells you that they can get again this 20 stack lead, 20 minion lead, and then claim another objective. But with that perfect timed kill on Ballistics' side, taking Lucio out, and Lucio being very far out on the map, Ballistics now has the time to get their own level 13 and position around the Shrine. So all of a sudden, just with that single kill, the entire situation towards the third Punisher has completely changed.
Just unable to find himself that Stormbolt. Could have led to a kill as Rich was waiting in the wakes there. They do end up using this time, though, knowing that members of Ballistics have committed towards the top half of the map to at least take out the middle four. Gul'dan is getting a lot of split pressure on bottom, and honestly, it feels like KSV is getting more out of this than the members of Ballistics likely will, because top fort is really all there's going to be to pick up.
They're going to get the Punisher for sure, and they have to somehow get a little bit of experience out of it. The problem is that we still have them not really reacting to this down here at the bot lane. Divine Shield and Ancestral both used on Uther in this setup, and we have oh my god. Dragon Blade is now being used as well, as we have Reset trying to go in with Genji, and they might even get the kill against Magi after all.
ETC.
Finally, Hooligan is starting to move in. Vala still not there, and without the main damage healer, this is a problem, but it's party time. ETC with a Mosh Pit, and they kill Muradin. KSV super aggressive in the mid lane, not only taking the fort, not stopping there, going straight for the keep wall, taking it as well. About to kill 1-2 members on Ballistics' side, but then they lose Muradin. Still, arguably, they got quite a lot out of that aggression.
I mean, they did get quite a bit out of that laning situation before that fight kind of unfolded, but to be honest, that was also, you know, a moment where Ballistics got a lot out of the fact that KSV ended up losing kills while down behind, and because KSV was dictating the pace of so many rotations there, I felt like Ballistics got a lot out of that. Maybe, I don't want to call it over-aggression because it very much was calculated from KSV, but just the fact that they caught out Tist and was able to get that kill. They're still going to have the Punisher, but not wanting to pick it up too quick as that 16 talent tier is there. The only thing at this point I can see them maybe wanting to try and do is capture it just to be able to get the deny, but they're going to allow KSV to get 16 and zone off this.
I would have actually made an argument for them picking it up really quickly so that they can still fight before 16.
Yeah, you do one or the other, right? But the fact that they didn't, I was like, okay, I was looking for the other argument. But then, again, I looked back at it and I was like, you know what? This seems interesting. But the fact that KSV is not willing to, you know, kind of move up here with the 16 talents here, it's because they have that Sonya. They very much, their body language is showing that they are more worried about the later stages and not this 16 talent tier fight, furthering it and keeping this lead all the way through the 20 talent tiers.
I mean, if you just let the Punisher go now and you spread out on the lanes and try to get value somewhere else, force KSV to react to the Punisher, you might get the experience, but they're still willing to at least threaten the fight a little bit. We have heroes splitting into the mid lane, and I like that a lot. So Ballistics at this point is just simply saying, hey, KSV, you either defend the middle or you defend against the Punisher. You can't have it both. KSV is very happy to go straight down to the mid lane and take the fight here. Divine Shield on SC. They're going and trying to take Rich down, and they succeed with the kill. Down goes Sonya. The Horrify lands, but the Mosh Pit is in and hits 2. They get the kill against Lucio and are starting to chase Genji now. Down they go, triple kill, Ballistics looking so much better now in game number 2.
That was just ridiculous. That fight was very interesting from KSV and how they determined how they wanted to take it. You knew, because that lose-lose scenario you're talking about, you answer to the Punisher, you answer to us. Rich opened up a chonking SC down to, I felt like it was 10% HP. He got the Divine Shield, was able to kite himself out of the situation, but the fight happened, and we lost one hero before Gul'dan was even there to join the fight. He dropped the Horrify, but it didn't hit the Mosh Pit. So that was just a complete misplay out of KSV on communication, and now Ballistics, they're going for core.
Can they?
It's only 13 minutes into a reset comp. It's definitely possible KSV defends this.
Yeah, I would say this is a little bit ambitious considering that they have none of their cooldowns ready.
Except,
well, if you get the kills, then yes, you can definitely do that. Lucio goes down, and if Tis now falls as well, there could be lights out. It should be lights out, but Hooligan is low, has no mana left.
Reset?
SDE is also in trouble. If Reset gets any kind of resets here and can just get those Swift Strikes in, that might be it.
Oh my god.
Down with the damage. Rich is
so
low.
Scary.
Everybody is so low in HP and mana. And Ballistics moves back from the core.
KSV, though, if we look at how the map is painted right now, they just lost the first keep of the game, and they still only have one kill throughout this entire match to call their own. This is still, though, that, you know, the core rush not working in favor of Ballistics maybe as much as they wanted. They still are just been dominating this game, and I'm looking for the moment where KSV kind of cleans up that what is now back-to-back miscommunications.
But here's the next point. They do an exceptional job when it comes to the macro game, and they've done that against Fnatic, for example, as well. The Dragonshire game comes to mind when Fnatic walked away with 12 kills to 1, but still lost the game because KSV just played so fantastic on the macro side. They're doing the same thing here, but Ballistic has quite handily won every single team fight that we saw, with especially SC just not dying and then chunking you down. And that problem is just going to be enhanced. Manticore on 16 was already a big issue for not only Rich, but also Muradin. Both of them are really suffering right now against those auto attacks. Once then they hit 20 and SC is even safer with the distance and the Farfly Quiver, I don't think that KSV has a really good time in these fights unless they hit a clutch Horrify. So for me, when I look at their setup, everything depends on Gul'dan hitting that one ult that changes the outcome, or Ballistics is just going to walk away with another set of kills, and as the death timers continue, that would mean that KSV is just losing the control of the map.
I completely agree. Just for me, but the thing that I'm looking at is that KSV, they need that huge Horrify, but they're choosing fights without even leaving the Horrify to be an option. That is a second skirmish they have taken, lost somebody before the core of the composition, the last pick Gul'dan, has even had the opportunity to be like, hey guys, remember why we picked me, Fel Flame Gul'dan, to deal with the pressure in this front line? He wants to sit there, throw out massive spells, and the fight, it begins and ends before he's even able to show up to the party.
Well, the party is starting again, and this is another team fight with the Shrine activating in the middle of the map here. We have 11 kills against 1 in Ballistic's favor. And can they do it again here? Can they claim another Punisher? Maybe even win a team fight, kill a few heroes, and walk straight up to that top lane. They tried for a core call, didn't work out for them. Damage already traded. Saka the entire time with the Fel Flame build, trying to poke away here, and they are currently walking away with a better situation when it comes to the minion stacks, 20 against 8.
Really good job by Ballistics identifying that they were split and now recollecting themselves, trying to clump up. This is where the composition is far, far better. Sake moves up, gets a little bit of damage, but they're closing in on those skeleton defenders. Rich goes in, even though he falls pretty low, forced to use the Nerve of Steel. Tis is in a bad spot, should have the Dwarf Toss, but he uses Avatar. Mosh Pit goes in, but it's immediately horrified. Tis keeps himself alive, but the Dwarf Toss is interrupted. Dragon Blade used, and they're looking going to go in.
Ancestral use. The Divine Shield is still in, and he uses it at this point. Arthas has the Divine Shield, is low on mana, and he goes down. That's the kill that KSV was aiming for. They get the kill, they get the Punisher, and now they can move through the mid lane. But their core is under pressure. Double catapult. They will have to send someone back, and that's going to be Genji.
It's only 3 catapults. I'm surprised that anybody on the side of KSV responded. Being a man down like this, they have an opportunity to get a couple kills in now the game, but without your reset, you're looking to just maximum gain and keep at this point in time, or really, can they take this 4 versus 4? Yes. That Punisher, it's fallen pretty quickly there to Q-build Vala.
Yeah, they're starting to siege down the core, or they're going for it now that the keep is gone. We have Genji on his way. They're moving in. KSV, they want the game right now. They have the level 20. They have the Storm Talent advantage. They go for SC. If he falls, it's all over. The core itself already taking damage. Vala barely saved by ETC, pushing everybody away. But the core is down to 30%, and that is KSV Black walking away with a 2-0 lead after game number 2.
You dominated that game for what was, 13, 14 minutes for Ballistics, and they just took 1 kill, and KSV goes, we're taking this game. That is just ridiculous, and why KSV has the track record in competitive Heroes of the Storm that they do.
At this point, it's really coming back to that core call on the side of Ballistics. If they don't go for core, but immediately realize we're too low in mana, we're too low in hit points, and move back at that moment, they can go into the map, they can start taking camps, they can maybe even drop a few more structures, get the early level 20, and play around that. So that was definitely where they lost a lot of time, where they could have been dominant on the map here. And you said it best. If KSV has the option and they see an opportunity, they're taking it. That turnaround was pretty impressive. The macro game from the start was perfect.
Yeah.
But in the team fights, it just wasn't as good. And then that last fight, the attempt of a mosh pit, Horrify falling afterwards, the kill against Arthas, it's all they needed, and then they win the game.
I am still a little surprised at KSV, even though they're confidently able to take that in there, that they were willing to send the Genji back in what felt like an only backdoor situation, because I can't help but feel like if Ballistics maybe somehow got that bait to a different keep, I don't think they would have been able to for sure hold on, but it would have at least felt like, you know, a little bit less damage on the core, a little bit less fast on how that happened. So still, I can't help but feel like a little bit uncharacteristic on decisions made onto a small level for Ballistics, but those small things really do add up when you're playing against a team that capitalizes on every single mistake.
No matter what happened in the last game, I think Ballistics at this point is regretting not putting SC on a damage dealer on the first map, because that just seems now, in hindsight, a bit of a present for KSV. To me, it feels that the series started with a 1-0 advantage for KSV Black.
It feels like it did a little bit, yeah, with how dominant they were in that first game. I've got to wonder, are we going to see Ballistics stick with that kind of first pick mentality that they've been willing to have whenever they are behind and be comfortable going to whatever map we see KSV want to move into, or are they going to try and just say, no, with our tournament life on the, or not tournament life, but at least the series on the line, willing to go for the map pick something like Sky, which was the ban that KSV ended up using against them last time. I feel like, I don't know if that's the answer, but it's a mix-up, and at this point, you know, I think a mix-up is definitely overdue.
I think what we also can expect is that Tyrael ban to continue.
Yeah, there's about no reason. It's interesting to think about. Even though they did end up winning that game, I can't help but feel like they look at that and go, we maybe had a compositional error. So I don't know if you look at the Tyrael and go, that was the mistake, but yeah. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Tyrael dropped in priority in terms of that ban because of how, you know, again, sloppy or struggling that early game looked for KSV from their perspective.
But then again, the main argument they also had for the composition was it was an easy to play composition on the side of KSV Black. On the side of Ballistics. Yeah. You have the double front line. You try to keep Vala safe. As long as you don't lose her, you are in a good spot. I really like the double support setup when they have a C on the hero. It wasn't enough on the last map, and right now we have that 2-0 lead. I'm just really curious to see if they just completely crumble at this point, because it stinks, I feel. If you go into that series and everybody knows that you build up that momentum and all of a sudden you lose the two games in the last one like that, where you already felt you have it, you go for the core, it doesn't work out, you lose the next objective and your opponent ends. Yeah. Must be a little bit of an issue. So from a mentality aspect, it's going to be interesting how they deal with that. Yeah, it is going to be interesting to figure that out. But we are going to throw it to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we will have more action. Stay tuned, because it is still KSV taking on Ballistics.